This is an asset tracker Canvas app that I built with AI in under an hour. Now, for anyone who's used to building Power Apps, especially Canvas apps, you might be looking at this and it could take you a day if you're really good. It probably will take you a week if you're still getting up to speed with the way Canvas apps work. But you can see it's a beautiful UI that's been generated for me. It gets a bit less beautiful, of course, AI isn't 100%, but if I go to view all assets, you can see I've got all of these available assets connected to one of my Dataverse tables, and I was completely hands off. The only thing I did do was add the database table to the Power App, and then AI basically took over and then built the application that you're seeing right now. So this is live data that you're seeing, and I was completely hands off for all of these steps. I'm going to introduce how I done this and how you can build like this today. Hi everyone, my name is Howden Rashid, Microsoft MVP, MCT, and founder of Powercademy, where we help businesses upskill their teams in Power Platform and AI. Now today I'm super excited because a tool within the Power Platform ecosystem that I honestly have been wrestling with since I started developing in the Power Platform, Canvas apps are finally getting AI generated authoring. This was announced in April 2026 and is currently in preview, so I'm going to show you exactly what it can do, how you can set it up, and what benefits this brings you to your development journey. Now, if you're building with Power Apps, this is a serious must watch because it also, in my opinion, dictates the way that the Power Platform development is moving in as well. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to go through what the Canvas Authoring MCP is, which is basically the tool that allowed me to build that application with AI. We're going to understand how it works under the hood. We're going to understand the 3 skills that you get out of the box with it. Prerequisites before getting started, so what you actually need before you can start working with this. We're going to go through a live demo as well of me actually using it. And then we're going to do a final slide on best practices and drawbacks. So what actually is the Canvas Authoring MCP? So it runs locally on your machine, so it's not a SaaS feature, it's a local server. Effectively, it allows coding agents to build your Canvas apps for you. So you get a few skills to set up your MCP, get started with your project, and then also add alterations to your project as you're going on. And it's currently in public preview and announced in April 2026. Now the Authoring MCP has a 4-stage flow where you, the maker, will of course log on. You'll connect to your AI agent, in this case Claude Code, that's what we're going to be using today. Then we're going to use the Canvas Authoring MCP server as the bridge, and that will allow us to connect our AI agent to our studio and author with our AI agent. So the benefits of this, of course, is faster development. So you'll be able to, of course, develop quicker within AI. You saw that application I built in under an hour when it can probably take a good developer a day or 2 to build something like that. Of course, you can use your favorite coding agent. So if you prefer Claude Code rather than the Microsoft products, you can use that. And I think it really bridges the gap between makers and professional developers. Now, again, if you've built with Canvas app and you showed a professional developer what a Canvas app looks like, they'd probably be mortified, but I think this way it kind of bridges that gap so professional developers can understand Canvas apps a little better, and then also makers can understand the pro dev world a little bit better too. And I think this just creates a better synergy for Fusion development and development going forward. Now, I don't want you to mistake this with the other Power Apps MCP. Now, Microsoft can be really unconventional with their naming, or maybe a bit too conventional, you might say. So we've got the Canvas Authoring MCP, which is what we're covering in this video, but you also have the Power Apps MCP server, which is a different product that we will cover in another video. The Canvas Authoring MCP is for makers building Canvas apps. It's used in your IDE, so for example, Claude Code or the Copilot CLI, but the Power Apps MCP server is a different product and is for autonomous agents running inside your model-driven apps. So it's got nothing to do with Canvas apps. It's also used in Copilot Studio agents. So this is kind of the key differences between the two. I just wanted to distinguish this in case you've heard of the Power Apps MCP. That's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the Canvas Authoring MCP. So there's 3 current skills that are available to you that you can use within your IDE to create a Canvas app. So we've got Generate Canvas App, which creates a new Canvas app from a natural language description. We've got Edit Canvas App, and this is the one that I suggested allows you to make those tweaks to the generated Canvas app. And then we've got Configure Canvas MCP, which effectively just allows you to set up the MCP server so you can do all your greatness with the AI coding tools. We've got a setup skill, and then we've got 2 skills to allow us to author. Now, I think there's going to be a lot of room to expand, so these Power Platform skills are continuously being added to, and I don't think this is any different. But this is what we're currently working with. Okay, so prerequisites before we get started. So we need 4 main things before we get started here. We need the .NET 10 SDK, and this is so you can run the MCP server locally in your machine. Without this, there's no bridge between your coding agent and Power Apps. Then Git for Windows, Claude Code specifically on Windows uses git bash to run shell commands. So you're going to need git for Windows if you're looking to use Claude Code in this case. I'm not sure about the configuration with GitHub Copilot. You have to look into that, but for Claude Code for sure you're going to need git for Windows. Claude Code, or your coding agent of choice, the free Claude.ai plan won't authenticate you, and you need Pro, Max, or Team plans. And you're going to need a different plan which is paid, like Pro, Max, Team, or Enterprise. GitHub Copilot CLI works as an alternative as well. And then the Power Apps Studio with co-authoring on. So the MCP server basically piggybanks on a live co-authoring session to read and write to your application. So it's a simple toggle that you need to activate within your Canvas app, and I'll show you how you can do just that. If you need to set up any of these three, I'll put links to the description for the setup guide so you can go and get started with that. But assuming you already have these installed, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is just make sure that you've got all of the prerequisites. So what I want you to do is come into Visual Studio Code. I should have probably mentioned this is another prerequisite. I didn't add it to the list, but you're going to need Visual Studio Code as well. Hopefully that was a given, but if not, then yes, you're going to need Visual Studio Code, or your IDE of choice. Within Visual Studio Code, we want to go to Terminal and then New Terminal. And then from here, we just want to run 3 commands. So we want to run git -- version. And if you see a version pop up here, it means we have git installed, so that's a green tick. Then we want to run .NET -- version. Again, we see a number pop up, so that means we have it installed. And then finally, for this case, we want to see Claude version, and then again, the version number pops up. So you want to see 3 version numbers popping up for these 3 commands. So ensure you see this before we get started. Now we're going to get started for our use case. So I have a table called Powercademy assets. And in here, I have a few assets. So I've got MacBooks, I've got Dell laptops, I've got Logitechs, and a very simple table with a tag, an assigned to, a category, and some notes. What I want to do is create an application to help me manage these assets. And I've decided to go with a Canvas app for that. How that architecture decision comes to mind would be up to you, but of course, in this case, we're just going to go with it. The very first thing I want to do is come into my solution in this case. So we're just going to go to All, go to New, App, and then create a Canvas app. I always recommend creating a tablet because in a tablet you can flex down to a phone using containers, but on a phone you can't flex up to a tablet. So I would highly recommend just going with a tablet. And then here you can just type in assets. And here we're just going to type in asset manager, and I'm just going to put version 2 because I tested it before. Once that's been created, I want you to do 2 things. Firstly, skip this, then go into your settings, go to updates, and ensure co-authoring for this application is on. It's going to alert you that you must save your app before you can enable co-authoring, so we're just going to do that. Go into save, and once that's saved, come back into the settings, updates, and turn this on. Update, it will save again, and we should be good to go from a Power Apps perspective. Next, we want to open up Visual Studio Code again. We can just kill this terminal and start a new terminal. Okay, so now what we want to do is run our first instance of Claude. But first, we want to open the folder that we're going to be doing the work in. So this is effectively where the skeleton of your Canvas app will live in YAML files, and it's effectively the copy of what's going to be sent into the Power Apps Studio. So what we want to do is come into File, Open Folder, and then we want to find the folder, which in my case will be Asset Manager Demo version 2, select folder. Then we want to go into Terminal, New Terminal, and once we're in our folder, you can see here with the path, we're just going to type in Claude. You can see Claude has started when you see this little thing pop up, and you can see I'm on the Claude Max plan. And now what we want to do is type in /plugin. Select enter, and now you can see I'm in the area where I can discover and manage my plugins. So what I want you to do is come into marketplaces, so you can navigate using your keys here. So I'm just going left and right. And then I want you to go into add marketplace by selecting enter. Now I've already got this installed, but what I want you to install here is Microsoft / Power Platform Skills, written exactly like this. And there'll be something on the screen to show you how it's written if you can't read it specifically, but this is what I want you to select enter on. Now if I click this, it's just going to take me to the discover screen, and you can see I've already got 2 of the plugins installed. Now this is how Microsoft effectively packages its Claude Code plugins, all within this Power Platform Skills container. So you can see I've got Canvas app installed here. I've also got Power Pages installed. You have something for MCP, something for code apps. But what I want you to do for this video is navigate using your key and select enter for Canvas app. Then it will show you and tell you if it's successful within the terminal. But in this case, you can see I've already got it installed. So now I've got this installed, I should have the skill to get started with this. So I'm just going to select escape twice. And then what I want to do is select / configure Canvas MCP. And you can see here it's popped up. We're just going to select enter. And you can see now it's considering the Canvas MCP. It's starting by checking our prerequisites, which again, why it's important that you need these installed. And you can see it's asked us 2 questions. Firstly, it's asking the scope, so it's asking where we want the MCP server to be available. Now in this case, because it's a local project, user is fine. But again, if you only want this MCP to be available in the project or locally, then you can also select those options. But we're just going to select user because it's less hassle. So what we want to do is just type in one-user, and then you can see the second thing it wants is the studio URL. And to get this, we want to type 2-, and then we're going to go into our Canvas app, and you can see I've already got the URL highlighted, but we're just going to take this, Control-C for copy, come back into Visual Studio Code and paste. So you should have something like this. 1 is user, 2, and then the URL. And then you can see a few things to note. Make sure co-authoring is enabled. And then it says keep the browser tab open for the entire session. So we're going to select enter, and we're going to wait for this to do its magic and set up the MCP for us. It's giving us a bash command, and we're just going to select yes in this case. And you can see if an MCP server already exists, it will close that down, remove it, and it will re-add it with the new values so it can refresh that MCP effectively. Once this is finished, it will ask you to restart Claude Code and use Claude -- continue to resume the session. So we're just going to copy this command because it's quite useful. And then to restart Claude Code, we're just going to do /exit. You can see I'll be taken back to the path. And then I'm just going to paste that command, Claude continue. And you can see I'm back in the session. So now to ensure the MCP is running, what I would like you to do is we can have a new terminal here. So I've got 2 tabs open, my existing session and then my new terminal. And you can type in Claude MCP list, enter. And what you should be able to see is Canvas Authoring MCP over here and connected with a tick. So that's working for us. So double check that, you can kill that terminal and we can just use this one now. All right, amazing. So we're good to go with our first prompt. So what I want you to do is type in /generate Canvas app. And I've got a prompt already configured for me. It's quite long-winded. We can go through it. I don't think it'll be super useful to go through it. But effectively, I just want a tablet format Canvas app called Asset Manager connected to my logical name of the assets table. I've got some important configurations, the 3 screens I want created, and some visual design tips here. Then a final note to say make it feel like a polished SaaS product and not a default Power Apps template. Now we're just going to press enter, and a few things happen here that you have to pay attention to, so I'm just going to take you through them as well. You can see the first thing it's done is created us a folder within our folder. And if we just collapse this, we should see more files get created here. It's created itself a set of to-dos. And what it's going to start doing is working through these. Now, there's going to be moments where it's going to ask you to authenticate, right? So you can see here, it's asked us for a specific tool use. And if we select yes, what should happen is it will take us to an authentication screen within our browser. So we select yes. You can see it's asking us to pick an account. Now, the issue is, you can see I'm in Google Chrome here. I haven't tried with other browsers, but if I click on this, it's going to give me a problem because I'm doing this in a browser where I have a lot of cookies cached, and effectively it just throws an error. So a good way to fix this is if I open this up by authenticating on my account, it says bad request is too long. But if I copy this link and start an incognito window, paste it in here, you can see authentication will be complete. So when you see this authentication complete, then that means it's kind of past that stage and we'll move on to the next one. If not, then it will kind of just lag on that stage and you'll just be waiting thinking it's doing something when it's really not. So make sure you see this authentication complete message before you go back to Claude. I would keep this incognito tab open until it starts building stuff and you'll see that working. So if I go back to Visual Studio Code, you can see it's giving me another notice if I select yes, and I'm just going to press yes for all of these. I would also say as a bit of advice, I would recommend turning your effort down to medium, and by that you just go /effort and you select enter, and then you can decide the effort level using your keys just like that. And now we're just going to wait for it to finish. Again, this can take a bit of time, so do just keep an eye on it, make sure it's still cracking through, changing the token count. This is a really good sign that it's still working. And start accepting any permissions that come through as well. And you can see here on the left hand side, it's going to start generating the YAML files that it needs to assemble the Canvas app. So you can see it's currently still planning. It's written the app.pa YAML file, and then it's going to write the plan document as well. Now, something I do have to say about the plan document is it will generate one for you, but from what I've seen, it will just crack on regardless if you accept the plan document or not. So just keep an eye on that. It might actually build the application without checking the plan with you first. And you can see when the tasks are finished, it will finish with a tick. And now if I open up the Canvas app plan and I just lower this terminal a little bit, you can see slowly it will start adding to this plan. You can see it's taken literally my logical names for the columns on my table, and it's starting to work through this. This can be a relatively big file, so I think it's still adding to it if I'm being honest, so we'll just wait for it to finish this. And if you just take a look here in the top left, you can see it's starting to create my screens. So it's got asset detail, asset list, and also the home screen. And you can see here in the middle, it's starting to work through some of its functions. And just like that, in about 10 minutes, the app generation has been completed. You can see it's giving me a summary. So the home, the asset list, the asset detail, and also the app level. You can see it's also giving me some next steps. So something I actually forgot to do was to add the Powercademy assets table into the application. So let's see if that causes any problems. And now I'm in my Canvas app and you can't see any of the changes. So this is a bug I haven't ran into yet, but within Visual Studio Code, I just put a comment saying the studio doesn't seem to have the changes attached to it. And now you can see it's telling me I have an issue where it basically can't find the session to actually add the changes. So this is actually good because we can go through some debugging steps here as well. You can see it's giving me some steps here to try and resolve this. You can see one of them is to add the Dataverse table. So that's what I'm going to do. Come into the Asset Manager application, add data, and I'm just going to look for Powercademy assets. I'm going to add this in to avoid any more issues going forward. And once that's in, I'm going to save. And then I'm just going to take the URL again and copy. I'm going to Visual Studio Code. And you can see I've added a comment here just saying I've checked all of the above. It seems that the studio refreshed on accident. Here is the new URL. Please reconfigure the MCP server. Press enter, and let's see how it debugs for us. You can see it's asking for a restart. So if I just do /exit, and then again I do Claude continue, you can see it's asked me to restart Claude Code again. So we're going to do that. Exit, continue, and then it says please ask me to compile Canvas the asset management folder. So we're going to copy this, paste that in. You can see it's requesting us to authenticate again. I'm going to run into the issue, go incognito, and paste that in. You can see it's saying just to finish, add the data, but we've already done that. So what I'm going to say is, this is finished, please continue. And then it seems to have resolved itself. So now what I'm going to do is go into the Power Apps Studio. You can see things don't look the best right now. Everything looks a little bit deformed, if I do say so myself. So I'm just going to refresh this, reload. And you can see now things are looking a lot better. So sometimes it just needs to refresh so things can actually fall into place. You can see I've got my home screen here, and don't get me wrong, things aren't going to be perfect, but you can see it looks really nice. And if I play this, and you can see I have all of the data available within my table. If I go to view all assets, I have somewhere to view all of this data. Things which are in repair, retired, everything seems to be available right now. I can also add an asset, which apparently is not yet wired up, so that gives us a really nice bridge into our third and final skill. So this add asset button isn't currently working. So what if we want to get it working? If I go back into Visual Studio Code and I do / edit Canvas app and press tab for that to autocomplete, I can say the add asset button is not currently wired up. I want you to make sure that this is working. And if I select enter, you can see now I can tinker my Canvas app to make it look and feel the exact way that I want it to. So if you run into any issues, if anything doesn't look right, you'll use the Canvas app, edit Canvas app skill to go and to make those changes. So again, the generate Canvas app is to initialize the project, and then to make little edits to the Canvas app, you'll use the edit Canvas app skill. So let's see what that does for us. Okay, so it's mentioned it's made those changes. So if I go back to Power Apps, you can see it's loading. I always get a little bit worried refreshing, but in general, it's okay to refresh. So I'm just gonna do it, press reload, and this should give us the new state of the Canvas app. Perfect, we are now live. If I go into play, view all assets, add asset, you can see that I am now taken to a screen where I can add a new asset. And that was all done completely hands-off, all done using the Authoring MCP. Okay, so now you've seen the power of the Authoring MCP, I think it's good to just go over some final closing statements and some best practices. So Some of the best practices you can see: start simple. Obviously, with the first skill that we used, you want to begin with a very basic version of your app and then iterate to add complexity. That is quite a given. Then, of course, test frequently. Yep, this is something that we want to do consistently, of course. Be specific in your prompts. I think more and more people need to do more of this, and I was probably victim to it here as well during this session, but actually being very detailed in your prompts, letting them know what you want, what you don't want. So the AI can only know what you tell it, right? So give it as much context as possible without bombarding it. Use existing patterns. Yep, that's fine. Validate generated code. So you see those YAML files that were being generated. You want to make sure that those look persistent, and again, as it says, ensure they meet your organization standards. AI is generating this, so of course you want to make absolutely sure that it's generating the correct thing. And then the last point I found very interesting. It says bold design choices. Don't settle for generic layouts. Describe the visual style and aesthetic and direction you want. So I guess Microsoft is encouraging you to be a bit bolder and actually, go out of your mental frame of how Canvas apps are and try and generate what you can using this. I want to go through some drawbacks here because something happened off the camera, which I didn't show you because through the power of editing and my lovely editor who is probably dying at editing this video, it's been so long, is the main drawback I found here is it eats tokens really fast, especially if you're on Claude. I don't know how it is with the GitHub Copilot AI coding assistant, but with Claude for sure, it eats tokens very, very quickly. So I want you to be really careful when you're using that and ensure that the effort level is set to the adequate amount for the task that you're doing, right? So /effort to alter the effort if you're using Claude, and there's probably a way to do that within GitHub Copilot too. Two more things which you also saw, of course it's still in preview, so use it at your risk, but fragile session dependency. You saw that there was an area where we were debugging something, we ran into a few issues. So the session dependency can be very fragile, it can break on you. It's a little bit hacky, but it works. But just keep an eye on the session and make sure the connection that you have is strong. But if you lose internet or something refreshes on accident or anything like that, it can be a little bit finicky to try and get that working again. So these are the 3 drawbacks I would say to keep an eye on for this tool. Well, that's the Canvas Authoring MCP. So I'm super curious what you think about this tooling. Is it something you're going to use? Is it something that you find interesting? Please leave it in the comments and let me know what else you want to see. I'm always looking for video ideas, and I'm making this content for you guys. So if you want to see something in particular, let me know in the comments, whether it's a setup video or something that would help you a little bit more in the Power Platform space. I'd love to break that down for you and make it a little bit more digestible. Now, if you're watching this thinking that my team needs to learn how to do this stuff, we need to keep up with AI, we need to learn Power Platform, we need to level up our Power Platform enablement, that's exactly what we do here at Powercademy. We run hands-on workshops to get businesses genuinely competent with AI and the Power Platform. So if you're in the Microsoft ecosystem and you're interested, see the first link in the description, and feel free to book a call with me and we'll have a conversation. Again, if this was useful, you know what to do. Hit like, comment, subscribe, of course, if you want to keep up with content like this. And it's got very dark in my room, as I'm sure you can see. I'm a bit tired, so I'm going to go and get some rest. But thank you very much for staying tuned, and take it easy.